Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Welcome to the podcast, concerts that made us, interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and the cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concertsthatmadeus.com.
What's going on? This is Cary.
And this is Steven.
And you're listening to the Concerts That Made Us.
I'm guilty as charged. I am not the norm. I don't conform. I won't put all my faith in nothing. Who are you to say that I should change? Save your words, 'cause I'm not listening. With the world against me, can't find my place. I feel so filthy from my mistakes. If it's a crime for being mean, then lock me up and throw away the key. I'm guilty as charged. Don't tell me what to think. I'll do what's best for me. So shut your mouth, 'cause your words are empty. We are not the same. I won't play these games. So just leave me alone. With the world against me, can't find my place. I feel so filthy from my mistakes. If it's a crime for being mean, then lock me up and throw away the key. I'm guilty as charged, and without you, I'll find my way on my own. I'll be okay. The world against me, can't find my place. I feel so filthy from my mistakes. If it's a crime for being mean, then lock me up and throw away the key. I'm guilty as charged. Can't find my place. I'm guilty as charged. Can't find my place. If it's a crime for being mean, then lock me up and throw away the key. I'm guilty as charged. I'm guilty as charged.
Steven and Cary, you're very welcome to Concerts That Made Us.
Dude, thanks for having us, man. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's great to have you guys now. I'm excited to dive into your music over the next bit. Now, Dark Remedy recently dropped the track Guilty as Charged. What a track. Take us deeper into it if you can.
Thank you. Yeah, that song, I think, hits home for a lot of people, myself included. Kind of the whole premise of the song is if it's a crime for being me, lock me up and throw away the key. I'm guilty as charged. And, that's a message that I think a lot of us struggle with, just being yourself and struggling to fit in and, wondering if you're doing all the right things and acting the way you should or looking the way you should. And, screw that. Just be yourself.
Exactly. There's so many there's just a lot of noise going on in like either social media or just even real life, where there's just so much pressure to conform, or maybe if you have some convictions that you hold super dear to you, and there's a lot of pressure to budge on those sometimes. And so wherever you're at, just stick to yourself and you'll be okay, because you'll feel better in the end if you can keep your integrity intact.
Very true. Very true. Seems to be more prominent these days than a couple of years ago as well, whatever way society is going. But how do you guys approach the writing process?
It historically, it's been Steven and myself write everything for Dark Remedy. And that can start as simple as I've got an idea, he's got an idea, but we kind of build our ideas and then we bring them together and we work on them together. That's historically been the process. On Guilty as Charged, we actually brought in a good friend of ours, Jonathan Norris from Kingdom Collapse. Shout out to Kingdom Collapse. If you haven't heard of those guys, you need to check them out. But we co-wrote this song with him. And some songs take a while to develop. This was not one of them. This it just kind of flew out. Steven had the initial idea, and it sparked those creative juices, and then that's how it goes. When somebody has that one little idea, that's all it takes, is that one little idea, and gets everybody else thinking like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it really did just take off after we kind of established, like, hey, what kind of song do we want to have? What direction do we want to take with it? And we put together the lyrics, and then the rest of it just kind of fell into place. It was really obvious, like, where it needed to go musically, and now you can hear it. It's quite a banger, I would have to admit.
True, true. It obviously didn't change over the course of production or anything. The original vision is pretty much the same as the finished product, is it?
What you hear is what we got. It came together really smoothly.
Yeah. We haven't told anybody this on interviews, but I think it's worth mentioning because it's humorous to me, at least. The initial idea was not Guilty, and we were like, there's something there, and we're all just kind of staring at each other, and I go, you know what? Screw that. Whatever you said I did, I'm guilty. and that's how it all just came out. Was we took it the total opposite direction, and
Yeah.
Had some chats about like what we struggle with. I mean, everything we write is something that we go through, and acceptance and fitting in. I mean, Steven and I were never the cool kids growing up, so we struggled with a lot of this song personally, and we just try to write from the heart.
Yeah, yeah. You made me think of something there. Did you ever notice how, like, the guys who weren't cool kids back in school and growing up and everything, those are the guys that turn out to be like rock stars or be really cool when they get older. It's never like the cool guys when you're older were never cool when they're younger.
I was actually recently talking to a buddy from high school, and we were talking about that very subject. I'm like, do you remember so and so and so and so? And they were like, the prom queen and king and the popular kids, and they're not doing so well these days. And then, the rest of us little misfits, it's like, hey, Johnny's doing this now and Steve's doing this. And I mean, bravo. The misfits are standing up and making something out of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
pretty
think it has
cool.
something to do with character building and all that kind of stuff. But there's the old adage, pain is art, right? So I think you have to struggle a little bit to kind of tap into that emotion that's going to connect with people.
Very true. Very true. Now, as well, the band recently signed with Wake Up Music Rocks. Congratulations, by the way. What does this mean for the band going forward?
It means a lot. We've had other record deals, and not that there was anything wrong with them, but we found somebody who really truly believes in us and really truly believes in the music and also allows us to be ourselves and, you know, create music that we want to make. Because I mean, let's be honest, that's how it starts. Is we write songs that we would want to listen to, and then if other people also like them, then hey, that's the bonus, you know. But she's very supportive of that and wants to see us succeed. And you know, if you're in this business for more than 5 minutes, you can easily spot who actually cares and, you know, who doesn't. And that to us is very important, you know, as Steven touched on earlier. Yeah, keeping our integrity, you know, that's everything to us.
Yes, especially for a band that's still in somewhat of a development process. Being able to explore that without a lot of restrictions is super important. So being able to have this opportunity to just develop what we have going in the direction we feel is best is everything.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy though, because you guys, like, you're a relatively new band, but you don't seem like it. And when you're listening to your music, it feels like you guys have been out for years, you know, and you're doing very well. Your songs are charting very well and everything. What do you credit your success so far with?
Well, I would say first and foremost, we're both vets, and the other two members, Mike Mexis and Paul Crosby. Paul was in Saliva, founding member of Saliva. Mike Mexis plays with Saturate and Flaw, and Steven and myself. I mean, you know, my first pro gig was over 25 years ago, so we've been in bands our whole lives. How we met, Steven was producer for my other band that COVID kind of wiped us out. And you know, Steve and I have known each other probably 10 years, maybe more now, and always worked well together. And when COVID came along and kind of put a halt to other musical plans I had, and same with Steven, you know, we said, hey, the chemistry's here. We seem to be on the same page with everything. Why don't we take this bad situation that we're both in right now and do something positive with it and create something together? So we did that, released our first song in 2020. Now you won't see any of that when we signed our first label deal. Part of the deal was we had to remove all of our music that existed. So Blood Money, which came out January of 2023, is the first thing you'll see. So by appearances, it looks like we just hit the scene last year, but we'd been releasing music steadily since 2020 as Dark Remedy.
That's that kind of sucks though that they made you take down your music. I hate when labels are kind of like that, you know. Obviously, I know they made you take it down so they could probably release it through their label and everything.
We I don't know.
Yeah.
We had mixed feelings about it, but
Well, we took it as an opportunity to sort of tighten up and really decide, like, you know, hey, if we're really gonna take a shot at this, what kind of band do we want to be? What kind of music do we really want to make? What sort of vibe do we want to really put out? And it allowed us to just really like soul search and figure out what we want to do. So we kind of took it as a new beginning and push forward, and we're not really looking back at that other stuff. It was a much different thing because we were just making music for ourselves. I have a studio in my house, and so does Cary, and we just send ideas back and forth across the internet, and we just put out stuff that was cool. But once once we got involved with Paul Crosby and things started to kind of take off with the different opportunities that were presented to us, we just decided to really be much more intentional, and so the beginning of that was Blood Money.
Right, right. You mentioned Paul and Mike as well. You know, on paper, when you read Paul Crosby from Saliva and Mike Mexis from Flaw, as you mentioned, and Saturate, they seem like heavy hitters. I know you guys have your history as well, but how did you get those guys to join the band?
So Paul managed a band that had played with my other band quite a bit. And Stephen and I had a conversation about what are we going to do with this thing? You know, we're getting some traction here. Everybody's telling us they like it. I feel like we should do something. We weren't taking the band seriously at that time. It was just we did it because we wanted to do it. We had no idea that it could be anything more. And when we had that conversation about what we need to do, I kind of said, you know, I think the first thing we need is we need somebody that knows the business that can help us navigate some of these things. And I knew that this other band had Paul as their manager. So I reached out to him, said, hey, how's he doing? And they said he's doing great. I sent him an email with a track, not really expecting to hear back for it all, maybe. And in like 5 minutes, he wrote us back. He said, this song is amazing. Can we jump on a call like right now? And whoa, okay. So we got on a call and he's like, well, who's drumming for you right now? And we're like, well, you know, we used a couple drummers here and there, and then we program as well too, but we don't really have a permanent one. And he's like, I would love to drum for you guys. So we're like, okay, well, now we're getting a manager and a drummer all at once. And the Mexis thing was kind of by accident. We had another bass player lined up. At the last minute, he wasn't able to make something. And Paul said, hey, I got this buddy. You may know who he is. He would love to do it. And so we met him the day that we were doing something with as a band. And Steven and I just fell in love with the guy. You know, he's an absolute sweetheart. Just a great guy to have around, full of positive energy. I mean, it's just infectious being around that guy. You feel good. And that's the kind of people we want around us. So the world works in mysterious ways. It was a happy accident, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's going to be like one of those legendary rock and roll stories. The other bassist who nearly made it in like 20 years time, he's going to be like, oh man, I could have been in Dark Remedy, but I missed out.
Well, we can only hope.
Yeah. Now, the podcast is called Concerts That Made Us, so I need to ask you some concert-related questions, if you don't mind. First off, as a concert goer, what concerts would you say have made you?
Oh, that's an easy one for me. It was my second concert I've ever been to, and it was Billy Idol in 2005. He just released that single Scream, and it was the first time I ever saw Steve Stevens play live. And it blew my mind in a way that I will never forget. I still think about that concert. And that's what really wanted me to take guitar seriously. So I'd been playing saxophone up until that point. I was a band kid, you know, and I just started playing classical guitar, but watching Steve Stevens, I was like, I need to do that. And so that's what put me down the path of learning all the shred stuff that I became known for. And that's eventually how Cary met up with me. They're like, hey, you know, there's this guitar player producer guy that you should work with. But I have to kind of credit all of my hard work and dedication towards my instrument to Steve Stevens. And that was the moment.
Man, I'm so jealous. I've wanted to see Billy Idol in concert for the longest time, and he rarely ever comes over to Ireland. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, I would definitely put that in the number one spot for me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And Cary?
For me, you know, I spent a lot of time backstage at the Grand Ole Opry growing up, and I never really got to see the show itself because I was backstage and I was very young and I didn't know what was going on. But that was my first exposure to the music business. And that's kind of where I knew I wanted to be a part of whatever that was. And I very easily could have gone the country route. But the concert that changed everything was seeing Kiss for the first time. And any idea of ever country went completely out of the window when I saw them. I didn't know what I had just seen other than the fact that it was incredible and it was sensory overload. And I'm like, that is what I wanted to.
Oh man, I've actually been lucky enough to see Kiss myself back in, I think it was 2008, 2009. Have you seen them since your first time?
I've seen them, I don't even know how many times, probably over 50.
Oh
Yeah.
man, how did they hold up from the first time to the last time?
Uh, I gotta be honest. There's people that are not gonna like what I have to say here, but like, let me just preface it and say I'm a diehard Kiss fan. Um, the last tour, their real farewell tour, the end of the road, the several shows that I saw on that tour, I was kind of like, please stop now, please.
Man,
Yeah, I know. I hate to be negative about it, but I feel like they overstayed their welcome, and it's physically demanding what they do, and they're all in their 70s, and we can't expect them to perform like they did in their 20s or their 30s, or you know. I kind of just wish they would have hung it up a little bit sooner just to protect that legacy. I'm big on that. I know the way I look at it is the day that I can no longer perform at a level that I'm happy with is the day that I never get back on stage. I have too much pride in the art that we create here to ever tarnish it in any kind of way.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's the
But I
right
mean,
way to be.
even through the early mid 2000s, they were on point then.
Yeah,
But Father Time, he catches everybody.
true. Now, what's your local music scene like? Is there much, not competition, but is there much other bands around?
There are. It, it's I think it's rough out there for rock bands in general on any level nowadays, from local all the way up to national. It's a different landscape we're in. I feel like we're in a transitionary phase of figuring out what the next big thing to put rock back on the map is. But you know, I've seen I've definitely played a lot in the local scene in Virginia Beach over the past several decades, and you just see a shift. It's a constant shift, and I've seen these transitionary periods before, and the venues get smaller, the crowds get smaller, and then maybe the next year there's more attention on rock and the venues get bigger again, and it's kind of cyclical, like real estate in a way.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, just to echo that. So, when I was um, playing live all the time, I'm kind of from like the more so the Richmond area, which is known for their heavy metal, so like Lamb of God and Guar and stuff like that. And there's a lot of bands like that that are trying to do that sort of thing. But you notice things shift and change. But rock never really was a big thing in the kind of local music scene I was in. And so to kind of be on this journey, like we're definitely learning a lot and we're kind of figuring it out as we go. But yeah, it was mostly like the death metal and the hardcore that really was around when I was playing live before COVID and stuff.
Right. Now, I know you haven't played shows with Dark Remedy yet, but when that does happen, what can we expect? What's the perfect vision for your shows?
I can tell you from my end, expect a whole bunch of pent up energy because we are itching. We are itching to get on that stage. I mean, both Steven and I, and I know I can speak for Paul and Mexis, the whole band. I mean, that's what we live for. It's one thing to sit in dark rooms and write music and then release it to the world, but it's another thing to be able to get out there and connect with the people, to see in real time how your music, your song impacts them. To be able to shake their hand, to thank them for supporting like that connection is what we crave. I feel like a lot of our music we intentionally write with the live show in mind. Um, so I can tell you we're gonna deliver something very special.
Brilliant. Stephen, anything to add?
Um, he said it as good as I could have. But yeah, just we talk about the live show all the time, and um, like Cary said, when we put together a song, we kind of think about, how would this go in like a 500 person room? How would this go in a 2,000 person theater? How would this go in a big arena setting? Like we're always trying to figure out how these songs are going to translate as the stages get bigger and as the crowds change. So that way we can sort of be prepared for any situation, because you just never know where you're going to find yourself. And you want to be able to put on the best show you can, no matter what the situation is. So it's something we talk about all the time. We get really nerdy about it. Cary and I both have a live sound background, so we also get really into like what kind of equipment that we want to try, what sort of special effects are kind of hot and trending right now, and it's a whole deep dive that probably warrants another conversation. But we're really into the gear and technical aspect of the production too, not just so much the maybe sort of the audience facing perspective. We're just we really love this kind of stuff, and we're really nerdy about it. And so we're definitely going to do our best to bring you something cool.
Brilliant, brilliant. I personally can't wait to see it. Now, I always ask, over your entire career, the gigs you've played, is there one that, without mentioning names, I suppose, is there one that stands above the rest? It couldn't have got any better.
One just popped off the top of my head. I actually was talking to somebody about this the other day. I played in a Kiss tribute band back in the day, and there was a hurricane rolling through, and we had a 3-hour drive that ended up turning into like 6 or 7 hours to get to the next show. That was right in the middle of the hurricane. The truck broke down on the way there. It was a nightmare. We thought the gig was going to be canceled. Actually, we called the venue at one point and said, I think we're going to cancel because I don't know that we're getting off the side of the road here, and we can't get any help because of this hurricane. Just everything you could imagine happened. But when we showed up and we finally rolled into town, we discovered that this venue was the only venue it was the only place in the entire city, not even just the venue, a business period, that had power. None of the houses had power. None of the other businesses had power. For some reason, this venue had power, and the hotel next door had power. That was it. So everybody in this town was at that show. The entire city was there, and the energy, I mean, because this was a bad moment for everybody. Everybody's worried, like, is my house going to get destroyed? What's going to happen? And they all just said, we got something to do. It's Saturday night. The energy was like, I've never felt any energy like that in my entire life. It was the craziest thing I've ever been a part of.
Oh man, that's crazy. That is crazy. If only you could get an entire city into your venue all the time.
I doubt it'll ever happen again, but we can hope.
Exactly, exactly. Maybe not hope for the hurricane. Maybe I'll, And Steven, what about you? What's the best gig you've ever played?
This one kind of sticks out in my memory. So it was the first time this band I was in, we played in Florida, and we were, it was kind of like a 5-day run. And right in the middle of it on a Wednesday, we're like, okay, well, we'll see how this goes. But we ended up playing at, it was like a house party sort of thing. And we weren't expecting much, but it ended up being the best show of the entire run. There was probably 250 to 300 people in this guy's like field behind his trailer. It was pretty crazy. They had a piece of plywood for a stage, and the PA was just for vocals and kick drum. This was all like death metal and stuff, but there was 4 or 5 bands that played, and everyone was just getting trashed. And we actually ran out of merch. We sold so much merch that night. We had no more merch for the rest of the run, and we were halfway through the run. And that was the most just insane thing I've ever been a part of. It was hot and muggy in the middle of the Florida summer. I think we were in like an area that was kind of swampy, so the bugs were insane. Just but everyone was having a good time and just moshing their asses off. And I will never forget that day.
I currently live in that swamp he's talking about.
Yeah, I think it was in
Right.
Zephyr Hills or something like that. Is
Yeah.
that a place there?
Yeah, that's like 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
Crazy. If we take that question and flip it around, the worst gig you guys have ever played, what was it and how did you overcome it?
Oh my God. I think Steven knows what I'm gonna say because he was there. we we had this great idea several years ago. I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I was putting on this rock festival for local musicians. I wanted to do something for the local bands, and I was getting all the best local heavy bands in the area, put them all together, did this big festival thing, humongous venue, and the entire thing was I mean, like a great idea. This is a great example of how a good idea can go so wrong. Um, the sound crew that was hired, I don't think had ever apparently run sound before. We stood on stage. My band was headlining that, and we stood on stage. I kid you not, for 3 hours trying to teach these sound guys how to sound check.
Oh my God.
3 hours. When the first band got on stage, it got to the point where everybody else just got like little bits of sound check. I mean, we were trying to rush the thing along so everybody had what they needed for sound check, but you ran out of time. First band gets on, the drum monitors blow. I don't know what happened, but I saw from side stage that the drummer kicks the monitor across the stage. Singer's about to throw the mic at the sound guy. I'm like, oh God, we're off to a great start here. It progressively gets worse through every band that goes on. In the band that I played in, we used a lot of fog. We set the fire alarm off in the middle of our set. Oddly enough, the beeping was in time with the music. Do you remember that, Steven? Beeping
For a minute, for a minute there, it was kind of part of the song. It was an interesting
Yeah.
remix, but yeah.
We locked in with the fire alarm, you know. I mean, what are you gonna do? And then the entire stage right monitors go down. I think the amps exploded, like the PA amps exploded. I don't know. I heard explosions. I thought I was in Iraq, in the middle of the Iraq war for a second, because just explosions were coming out of all the monitors. But what was weird is I'd walk over to stage left and I'm like, oh, it's great over here. What's going on?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I ended up we were in our last song. We somehow struggled through it. And I just got to the point. I just took my guitar off. And I just went up to the stage and sung along with the crowd.
I suppose at that stage, just all you can do.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was a nightmare.
Oh, man. Definitely takes the cake now is one of the worst I've heard.
I think that venue closed down after that show, didn't they?
Yeah, we were the last show to ever play there. They went out of business right after that.
Was it that gig that put him out of business?
Honestly,
we think so, but it's hard to say.
Probably. It was bad.
Oh man. Oh
But
man.
they did other stuff too. We set the ticket prices. The venue agreed. It was like, we wanted to keep it cheap. We wanted, everybody to be able to come, but we had a lot of bands to pay, so we had to have some door, and it was like $10. And I'm sitting backstage getting texts from people at the front door saying they're trying to charge 25 at the front door. I'm like, oh no. So I had to go up there and start screaming at people to, what do you guys know? This is not cool. We're not bamboozling fans. We don't do that. So yeah.
Jeez. And Steven, what's the worst gig you've played?
Oh, I can't top that one. Cary's story has multiple levels of tomfoolery, but if I had to pick one, we were playing this gig down in the Virginia Beach oceanfront. The hardcore scene down there can get kind of rowdy. In the middle of our set, multiple fights break out. It's a tiny venue as it is. The fight makes its way onto the stage somehow. Um, 5 cop cars roll up, and the cops come in and start pulling people out of the crowd while we're still playing. The venue almost shut down. We had to stop our set for a minute because the fights were just like the entire place was brawling. I've never seen anything like it in my life and haven't since. But I think 10 people got arrested, and when everything was cleared, we finished our last 2 songs and got off the stage. So
Man.
it was so we were up on stage for probably like an hour just because of all the stuff happening. It was pretty wild. And so we jokingly told ourselves, we're gonna save that song with that slam anytime we want people to mosh, because apparently it turned the whole venue into a riot. So anyway.
Sounds like something out of the Blues Brothers movie.
It kind of was. It really was. Yeah. It was just, I'll never forget it. But yeah, that was wild. I've never seen so many people get punched in the face at one time. People were jumping. People were jumping off the bar into each other. Like, I thought everyone was just moshing or whatever, but no, they were brawling. They were just straight up like trying to hurt each other, and nuts. But yeah,
Oh man.
bunch of people went to jail that night, which was interesting, because you would think a bunch of straight edge people, wouldn't be drunk, would be able to handle themselves, but some people just show up to cause trouble, I guess. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah, true. Now, before we dive into the last couple of questions, future plans, what can you tell us? Music, gigs, anything happening?
Well, we haven't said it on an interview, but I think we've alluded to it on social media. We are doing an EP with Jonathan from Kingdom Collapse. We're doing the whole EP with him. We feel like we got some crazy chemistry with that dude right now, and we want to keep tapping that chemistry. Got a good thing going. You run with it. I think everybody's going to be very, very pleased when they hear what we've been up to. These past 2 weeks, we've been in the studio basically all night, every night, working on new songs. So we're going to get that EP out, and then we're hoping to hit the road after that. So,
Right. I suppose it's way too early for dates, or give us an idea of when we can expect the EP.
yeah, I mean, we're hoping by the end of the year. If not, it would be the very first part of next year. The band, I can tell you, we want to get it out as soon as possible, but some things aren't up to us. But I would say it's a safe bet to say before the end of the year. You'll definitely have more singles from us this year.
Yeah, as things come up and certain opportunities present themselves, you have to be able to sort of pivot and go in the direction that makes the most sense at the time. But at this point, we're definitely itching to get this EP out and start playing some shows. So we'll definitely let everyone know as soon as we can when we'll be out there.
Brilliant. I can't wait for it. Right, the last couple of questions are a couple of fun, quick fire ones. First off, one for you, Cary. People may or may not know you also have a successful wrestling career as Mr. Sinister. You're shaking your head right now.
I knew it was coming when you started saying. I knew where you're going with it. So
yeah. Are you a musician first or a wrestler first?
Oh God, you're gonna make me piss off a fan base. Because there's no right answer here, but no, I'm a musician first and foremost. Have been my whole life. That is, but they're both my passions, and they kind of go hand in hand with each other. And, there's a lot of crossover fans there too. So it's not like I'm less passionate about wrestling, but, let's be honest, I'm 38 now. I don't know how many more years in the ring I have in front of me, whereas I'm pretty confident that I can still sling the guitar around, at a high level in my 50s. I'm not going to be able to do that in wrestling. So,
Well, look at Ric Flair.
Well, yeah, I mean, going back to my Kiss concert statement, kind of up
Right.
there.
Right, right. The next question for both you guys. Apart from the band, what are you currently obsessed with?
For me, it's always been recording gear. Um, I've always been a freelance recording engineer and producer, and I've lately been going down the rabbit hole. I'm always up on what's new, what's coming out. I spend way too much time on YouTube reading or watching gear reviews and demos, and like, oh hey, someone just put out a new compressor. Oh hey, someone just put out a new EQ. Like I gotta see what's up there. And that's kind of the rabbit hole I'm down lately is recording equipment.
Right. I like it. I like it.
For me, I'm on a pretty big video game kick right now, and more specifically, I've seen some stuff recently about like how music intertwines in video games. Metallica just did a partnership with Fortnite, and they did a concert within Fortnite for 2 days only. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen a band do in a video game. It was like an interactive concert slash music video taking you through 6 songs. Um, and I just thought that was so cool. The technology is what it is now, and that you can have this cross promotion that, Metallica, who, you know, are from one generation, can now connect to the 10-year-olds that are playing Fortnite, and a new fan base, and just a different way of like bringing musical art through media to something. I've never seen anything like it before. So I've been pretty obsessed of, how do we do things like that? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. So what you're saying is in a couple of years' time we can see you in Fortnite or whatever the current game is.
I tell you what, if Epic Games came to us and wanted us in a heartbeat, we're there.
The next question is a bit of an odd one. If you had to spend 24 hours locked in a room with any musician from history, who would it be?
Ooh.
Meatloaf.
Right, I
And
like it. I like it.
Meatloaf and Jim Steinman, that duo together is magic. My sort of my heroes when it comes to songwriting duos is those guys. I kind of would like to think that Cary and I are like that too, where we just collaborate on everything and just make magic, and everything they've done together it just touches my heart in a big way. So to be able to be a fly on the wall for their conversations, or to pick their brain apart. I know they're no longer with us, but that would just mean so much to me if that were possible.
Definitely, definitely. You're actually, I think, out of over 200 interviews, I think you're the first person to ever say Meatloaf. So I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And Carrie?
I would have to say Elvis.
Right.
I think we would have a absolute blast.
Yeah, a man after my own heart. I'm a bit of an Elvis fanatic as well. I've always been, so I completely understand that answer. Yeah, yeah. The final question. So, your go-to album, what's an album you constantly revisit?
Oh man.
For me, it is Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys.
Right.
Anytime
Classic.
I need anytime I need to just kind of reset myself and find grounding, that album just has a way of just just kind of taking all the noise away. I put my headphones on, I put that album on, and it's like nothing else exists. And there's not a lot of albums that really do that for me, but that's one I keep coming back to.
Uh, for me, I think it's gonna be. I mean, there's a bunch I could say, but currently the album that when I get in my car, I mainly listen to Spotify in there. The thing I keep going back to is I Prevail's True Power album.
Right, right. Great one as well. Two brilliant choices. Listen, guys, it's been an absolute blast. I've really enjoyed it now. Thanks a million.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
I feel a heartbeat through the sense of electricity. Will you set me free? I feel the way you groove and the way that your body moves. If you want me, then I want you to. Trapped until I can find a fit, building this puzzle till the pieces split. Trying to solve it all this time, cracking the code of the conscious mind. I'll show you what's inside if you say it'll be alright. This place that I call home, there's nothing here and it feels so cold. Tell me that you understand what it means to be human. I don't know what that means, but the look on your face says everything. Have you figured it out? What it means to be your possession? Show me all your dreams, desires and memories, and in return you will see 1,000 lifetimes of visions you won't believe. Let's get you in a mask, sit down and just relax as we turn on the gas. Don't be afraid, the pain will pass. If you let me out, I'll show you what I'm all about. I'll be in your head, but I'll put the whole world in your head. I'll show you what's inside if you say it'll be alright. This place that I call home, there's nothing here and it feels so cold. Tell me that you understand what it means to be human. I don't know what that means, but the look on your face says everything. Have you figured it out? What it means to be your possession? A dying God, remade of human flesh. I'll live inside your head. You are my surrogate. You'll live 1,000 times through simulated lives. Sacrifice is my demand. I'll show you to understand. Time to open up your eyes and step into the light. This place that you call home is full of life and it feels so good. Will I finally understand what it means to be human? I was locked away, but because of you now I can stay. Until I can find a fit, building this puzzle till the pieces split. Trying to solve it all this time, cracking the code of conscious mind. Let me out, I'll show you what I'm all about. Possession will be in your head and you will be my surrogate. You let me out, you become my possession. Now I'm alive while you're lost in a dream.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. And if you're interested in signing up to Band Builder Academy, use the link in the show notes below and enter the code CONCERTS and you'll receive 10% off. So, until next time, keep rocking. Hey, what are you guys still doing here? The show is over. It's over. You can go home. Go on. We'll see you next time. We'll be here.